Begin tonight here on the Hill with the Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. He is one of the top Democrats in the House who represents the northwestern part of the greater Chicago area. Congressman, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. All right, I'll get to Harris in a second. Let's talk about Trump as we just listened to him for about the last 85 minutes or so. Your main takeaway is what? As he was trying to keep the focus there on grocery prices and saying your candidate is going forward with price controls.
Well, I think that the fact of the matter is that, unfortunately, prices have increased at the grocery stores far beyond even inflation or even their costs. Recently, it was found that prices were going up by almost 20%, even though that costs were going up in the single digits. And that's just wrong. One CEO actually went on a conference call with analysts and said that inflation is a good thing for him because it gives them cover to jack up prices. Now, states usually have these.
Did you take any issue with what Trump just said about it?
Well, I think that the thing that Trump is really trying to avoid dealing with is how he would actually control these prices, because states routinely do this. It's just that the federal government has not taken up a similar type of law.
All right, Congressman. So here's the numbers. I told the audience here on News Nation and those listening to us on Sirius XM, I'd show it. Here they are. So eggs, for example, 53%. Meats, 21.3%. So let's focus on that for a second, because that's what we are told the Harris team is going to focus on tomorrow. So meats, 21%. It's basically the same number as coffee, Congressman, but there are other items that are significantly higher. For example, eggs. And then let me take you through some other ones as well. Auto insurance, 55%, gas, 35%, electricity up 28%. These are the numbers, Congressman, since the beginning of the Biden administration. So if you are going to put price caps, price controls, whatever you want to call it, on meat, should we do this on insurance, on Geico, on Allstate? Should you do it on the major gas companies? Should you do it on the major egg companies?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's going to be a cap. It's going to be a comparison of how much costs are going up versus prices. As I said, if costs are going up by low single digits and prices are going up by much, much higher than that, then there's some profit taking happening at the expense of the consumer because of something that's beyond their control. This often happens, by the way, in natural disasters. These types of price gouging,
I know about it. I mean,
exercises.
Yeah, no. Look, I was born and raised in Miami. I lived through Andrew. I reported in Florida for 6 years. I know price gouging, right? When a storm is coming, every single time they tell you if that $2.50 gas goes to 10 or whatever, that's price gouging. Don't do it. They always say don't do it, right? We've always seen these examples. But when you talk about profit taking, I mean, here's Kroger. We talk about the Midwest, and that, of course, is one of the big grocery stores in your area. They made 1.43% last year. Grocery stores make 1% on average, and I just wonder if you think the federal government should possibly be levying fines against some of these companies.
Well, I think that let's see what the absolute amount of profits is as well. Remember, when you don't have a situation where prices are kind of connected to costs, as what's happening within the grocery or the food market, there are real consequences. People are unable to feed their families. People are unable to take care of their needs. Food is different than any other type of item for obvious reasons, which I don't need to tell your audience about. And that's why it strikes such a chord.
So let me ask you about another one, which is rent, right? Because President Biden had proposed a 5% cap on rent if you own more than 50 units. Here's what economists said about that. Only 2% agreed that that was a good idea. 74% disagreed with that. We are also told here that Vice President Harris tomorrow is going to put out her plan on housing costs. Should she take up this idea from the Biden-Harris administration?
Well, I'm a little less comfortable with that, only because we have such a shortage of housing right now, and the inventory is so low throughout the country, and we need more housing. And so I would be concerned about doing anything that would discourage building more housing. But going back to food, food is a staple, something that we have to absolutely be very careful about, because food insecurity is skyrocketing throughout the country. In my own area, in my own district, which is a suburb of Chicago, a set of suburbs in Chicago, we're seeing our food pantries run out of food routinely. And this is a big problem.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, again from the greater Chicago area, big week for you next week up there. We thank you for joining us here on the Hill. Thank you, sir.